Hey, what's up, Toby? We are to Process Debt podcast number 27.
Woo-hoo! We're past the halfway home.
I know we made
Halfway around
it a half a year. We made it a half a year. All right, today's topic.
Congratulations.
Today's
Twinkle in your
topic
eye. Okay, go ahead.
is the I know. Hold on. I'm trying to find the good words here.
Yeah.
So it is process debt oftentimes hides in areas that people can't see.
Okay.
And they name it something, or they give the fixing of that problem a name, and by giving it a name, it's gone. Like that problem now disappears from focus because that name has to like kind of happen. So like think of a reorg.
Okay. Yep. Look up into an example.
So yeah, reorgs are really interesting, right? Now, and how often in your career have you seen a reorg and then the next reorg is back to the org?
with only 85% of the staff. Yeah. Oh, now we're going back to what we did with Tom, Dick, and Harry, who understood how we used to do it. So, yeah,
I've seen those patterns happen a lot.
Well, you've been doing process work. We talk a lot about this,
Yeah.
Between the two of us, like half a century now of process related work. And oftentimes we take action, and what we're really doing is focusing on a symptom, but that's all they can see. At an executive level, they're only seeing a little bit of the business process, and it's usually whatever plinks out the back end, pooping jelly beans, and they have
well, what's funny is it's oftentimes we need to do something, and it's not really out of the change isn't out of understanding. It's out of discomfort.
That's pretty human, right?
Oh yeah. And why wouldn't we do that? Right? Like we're sitting on a savanna and we're uncomfortable because we're getting sunburned.
Yeah.
Let's go move under the tree.
I'm sitting on a 6-inch Costanza wallet. I need a new chair. My hip. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Humans recognize discomfort. We're just not very smart about identifying the root cause. And so we attack the symptom. Yeah.
Correct. Because it's easier to move, to move the emotion, right? To remove the emotion through movement, whatever that movement is, than to sit in the discomfort and say, what is actually going on?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what podcast I was listening to. I think it was Brene Brown, and huge fan. And, one of the conversations had to do with, so you get a thorn in your foot and it's going to hurt to have to pull it out. So now you find a way to put your sock on without snagging the thorn, and you cut up your sock, and all of a sudden you've designed a custom sock for people that happen to have a thorn in that exact same place. Audience of one. But your shoe doesn't fit. So now you start re-engineering shoes that accommodate the thorn, and you see where this goes. Like the lunacy is outrageous, but it's exactly what we do. It's nature, but it's manifest when we put a bunch of humans together and call it a company.
Yep.
Right. So Bob's an asshole, but we figured out a way to work around Bob, even though he's at the center of everything, and it's painful, but you don't have to involve him.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a law that I always mention, but for some reason I'm forgetting it. But basically it says that something will be around. There's a 50% chance that something will be around for as long as it's been around.
Oh, that's a horrible law.
Right?
That makes me really.
Yeah.
True. Thinking about my belly. Okay. Tell me more. Is there?
So like, for example, IBM has been around for 100+ years. And so in some shape or form, there's a 50% chance that IBM will be around in another 100 years in some shape or form, right?
That's right.
Look at Nokia
Yeah.
started out as, it's not a phone company like, that we all remember. It started out as like a woolen mill or something. Like
Yeah.
Fiskars scissors. They've been around for 200 or 300 years, something very, very long. They're going to be around for a really long time. Right.
Even BlackBerry,
Um,
I thought they were dead. And then I
yeah.
heard, I think it was Microsoft that acquired them about 5 years ago.
Yeah. AOL.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
It's still a thing. Right.
Yes.
And so like, this is the interesting thing about startups, right? Is like, they've been around for 2 years. There's a 50% chance that they'll be around for another years. But the reason I bring this up is because oftentimes orgs are around human moving parts.
Yes. Right.
They're not around the internal tools or applications or business units that have been there for a long time.
It's around personalities.
Yeah, it's around personalities. It's around, let's shake things up and let's change our org structure to match something different. And you're like, I mean, that's why most of them that reorg around a concept just die in 6 months.
Yeah. Well, I will say too, I don't know how many times I've seen a newly promoted manager or director or an executive come in from outside that says, here's how we used to do it.
Oh yeah.
Like, or, I want to put my mark on this.
Yep.
And organizations don't value consistent, steady, predictable, right?
No.
You lose sight of the fact that not every part of the business needs to be wildly innovative. And for years I've said to clients, what are the boring parts of your business that have to be consistent? And their answer is, our business is wild and exciting. We do cold storage and you move pallets in and out of giant refrigerators. And I'm like, ooh, yes, that is sexy. Like you say so, Chief. Is it sexy doing the billing and payroll too? And so the idea that, and I love that you call that out, because not every part of our business needs to be ever innovative. Like
yes.
where we're the same as our competitors, that's where we should be cooperating and seeking best practices. If we can drive efficiencies in how we bill each other, fantastic.
Yep.
But where we compete in the marketplace is where we should be innovating. How we serve our customers uniquely is how we be really sharpening our saw. And yet we confuse all of that. We don't celebrate 0 errors in payroll. We're payroll guys. I'm glad that's not my job.
Oh gosh. Oh yeah.
I love to pick on him. We have several friends in common that are deep in that world. And I'm like, God bless you, because I don't care about anything behind the comma. And you guys are worried about fractions of pennies. Well, there's different mindsets at play here.
Well, and it is really crazy, right? So if you think of like, and you've done change management forever.
Yeah.
Right. And getting people to change and getting them to figure out, how do you change and how do you go through that discomfort of learning something new? Like, it's not a matter of Gen AI will solve the problem.
Yeah. What is Chris's new mailing address for his pay stub? Ask Gen AI. It'll
figure it out. Like I've got a really good friend that's doing a lot of really cool Gen AI work, right? And he has found that people come to him and he is a huge lever in which they will come to him with a problem. And he's like, that's not a Gen AI problem. That's called a software problem. You should just throw some developers at it and fix it. And so it's been really funny because he's like, we're solving software problems. They're getting discovered by executives because that's where the focus is. That's where the spotlight effect is.
Right.
And so you bring Gen AI around and it's this big spotlight, and my buddy's like, yeah, that has nothing to do with LLMs or machine learning or nothing. And you should absolutely, and so then it exposes the problem of like, well, what's going on? And, he explains it. He's like, well, we're going to make it better by exposing this to clients or whatever they're doing. But the problem was not fundamentally even close to an LLM, but it allowed the focus to be on the problem. And he skillfully said, it's a software thing.
Yeah. I would say, and we've talked about this. There is the idea of, what do we solve with tools? What do we solve with process? What do we solve with human understanding? But then what has to be solved with vision? And what you're describing is one of those, they're starting at the most technical solution, right? I think the easiest version is, are we clear on the vision? Do we want super innovative payroll practice, or do we want payroll cut on time and accurate? And if the team is crushing it in Excel and we're not growing at 100% a year, let them do what they're doing. Right? There's no subscription cost in the world that is better than or a competent Excel guy that nails the payroll process or whatever. It's not everything gets more expensive from there. And so if we don't have that clarity, and then we move on to the people, is it that there's an understanding gap there? Tools and Gen AI doesn't solve somebody, hiring Toby to run payroll. That's just a bad idea, right? He's not wired for it. He doesn't care about it. Get the guy out of there. But we go directly to the most complex end because it is sexy. Our executives saw a Harvard Business Review at the airport and had big AI on the cover. They didn't read it. They didn't buy it. They read the cover. So,
but what's also interesting is it's like when these, we were around for the .com bubble, and it's one of those funny things where there's such a shift in attention that you can't go wrong spending money there.
Yeah, it's true.
And you will go wrong eventually because you got to pay payroll.
Right. It's like gravity,
Yeah. Like it's the finance, it's the business and the problems that people are willing to pay to have solved that is where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring up the .com because it's very germane to today's mania around AI. And I was working in healthcare, 97 to 99, and I was doing IT strategy, and the interim CIO said, what we really need is a physician portal with a web interface. 99, everybody had button only Nokia phones with little antenna that came out the top, or flip phones if you were super cool, right? And most of these doctors are still packing pagers because it's not who to call, right? And so here we have guys looking at a green screen that's installed in the wall by where they're doing their notes after procedures. If they would have had a web interface, they wouldn't have been able to use it. Like, they didn't have these guys carrying laptops. And so I feel like we're in this same place. First it was, let's put web interfaces. And then it's like, move everything to the cloud, which ironically was what all the laptops and PCs were the opposite of. We were trying to get everything off of a mainframe and distribute, and then we'd reconsolidate. And so now we have Gen AI, which is the latest exciting, not just Gen, but all the AI craze. And time and time again, what we find is, and to your point, like, it's a beautiful Band-Aid, but it may not be, maybe you need a tourniquet.
Yeah. And the interesting thing is, it's like, look, like, life gets busy, you get stressful. And we don't go to a place when we're in stress. We don't go to a place of, let's think deep here.
100%.
It's not our natural tendencies. Right. And so, and I don't even know how you would track this, but my guess is if you find really funky mistakes where businesses have like kind of shifted wrong or done something, like, I just wonder if it's just this whiplashy, I have to make a decision because I'm being sunburned in the savannah. I have to make a decision to go under the tree or go run somewhere, right? Like, I just have to do something to alleviate the stress.
Sales organizations and sales comp is a perfect example of, we're not getting the outcome we thought we were going to get. So how do we move quickly instead of asking, why are we getting the outcome? Maybe we have a shitty sales force, but instead we the comp plan. That's the moving target. Marketing shifts the focus all the time. There's not a persistent strategy. It's like, we've got 700 options. Clearly we chose the wrong one. So Chris, I love this. Naming it alone doesn't solve the problem. The lizard brain is fight, flight, or freeze. And so we want to take action. This is how we.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And instead it's it's just that simple slowing down.
Yeah. Take a breath.
Like, what's the real problem? It's that slow is,
Slow is
it's slow and smooth, and smooth is fast. I have a little thing on my backpack that says that, because I do think that that's really
I
brilliant.
think you're right.
Like, and I, just really quick, like my wife and I have gotten into this, like, military where they send the celebrities and they go through basically like a SEAL
Oh, okay.
selection.
This is like a reality TV
And
thing.
yeah, and it's fun and it's enjoyable, and you push these people to their mental limits, and they crash and they hate each other and they cry and all. It's good drama. But what's interesting about that is, like, we as Americans think that the Army is all about this selection process, and the reality is that's all that is in the military. Like, that whole, the Coronado Island with the Navy SEALs, where you ring the bell, that's selection.
Yeah.
That's not execution.
Yeah, it is.
And it's two completely different things. And so, like, even when like our troops have like trained with, Ukrainian troops, like, it's such a different culture, and that, like, we're very, like, our Army is very much about learning, growing, getting better. Right. It's not about hiding the truth. It's about exposing what went wrong. Right. And so, sure, it's not always that way. The Army is big enough to have, some screw ups in it, but
like any good word.
But if you think about that, like, I think sometimes we think business is like the selection process, and it is if you're a startup.
Right. Yes.
But if you're pulling in tens of millions or hundreds of millions, you've already been selected. And so the game's different. And so anyway, we made it again.
Look at that. Just a smidge over the 5-minute mark, as usual.
Just a smidge.
I hope you've all taken a second lap around the business building on your way into work today.
Love it.
Thanks for joining us as always. Chris, this is good stuff, brother. Thank you.
Cool, man. We'll catch you next week.
It's a deal. Have a great week.
Yeah.